guys, what's up? We are back with Behind the Bikini, and we are on episode 77. This episode, we are going to talk about everything that's happened this last week with our, Fit Body Fusion Summit and all that kind of fun stuff. Go into some of the things that we discussed while we were there and how we were planning on molding our 2025, which brings us to our topic title, which is finding peace and surrendering. We'll go into that a little bit more and how that comes together as we get into this a little bit more. But before that, like, comment, subscribe, hit the buttons. I remembered this week because I forgot last week, but I remembered this week. But hit the buttons wherever they are. Yep, keep sending in those questions. Last week's podcast got a ton of comments and stuff like that too, so that was awesome. So keep those coming. Even if we don't specifically address them, we do read all of them. So we got a bunch of questions to answer for you guys today. And we just kind of, I know for myself, I just kind of got myself a little bit more, I guess, settled this past weekend as far as what I want to do going forward with this year and all of that kind of fun stuff. So before we get into all of that, we are 2 weeks out from the Arnold.
Yes, we are. 15 days.
How are you feeling? How you feeling?
Good. Really, really good. What's the latest update? I checked in with Jamie this morning, but the last time I checked in with her was on Monday after a refeed. And then we ended up pulling all of my cardio and just have 10K steps right now. So that's like kind of like my off-season cardio setup. So I like to wake up and start my day with fasted cardio. So I've just been doing about 15 or 20 minutes. Then if I need to close my steps out later on in the afternoon, then I go for a 5 or 10 minute walk. Yesterday I was down like 2K steps and I just went up on the roof and did the walking track, just got outside and got some sunshine. So that's so nice. Such a good change of pace. Raised food a little bit. So she told me on Monday, I'm going to raise your food, dropping your cardio. And if you drop any more weight, check in with me right away. So Tuesday I woke up and I dropped about 0.8 of a pound. So I checked in with her. We raised food again a little bit. And then I checked in with her this morning and we're just kind of keeping everything the same for now. I do see her in person this afternoon. So we kind of want to just stay right here in this like 125 pound range. So what she said this morning is that I'm for sure going to check in on Saturday. And then if I drop under 125 or if I go over 126 to let her know. And then the intention is to give me one more refeed this weekend before we start really buckling down and like nailing all variables going into the Arnold. But so far, so good. Everything's really good. And then right before this podcast, I was training at the gym and I got the alert from Olympia TV. I was invited on to Fem Flex Friday.
Nice.
So I'll be interviewed on their podcast this Friday night. Pretty late for me. It's going to be 8 p.m. my time, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But I've never been invited, to do an interview with them before. So super, super excited and honored, that I was considered this year. And so we're feeling really, really good.
Awesome. That's really cool. Yeah. This Arnold's going to be different. I'm actually going to do a live preview of the Arnold tonight on my channel because there's nobody that's really like a front runner going into this. You know what I mean? Like our main people have all dropped as far as like, no Maureen, no Laura Lee, no Ashley, none of the big names are doing this really. So everybody that's in that mix is in the mix because, take what happened at the Olympia this year. We had brand new people in the top 5 with Jazzy in the top 5, with Vanya in the top 5. They were never there before, and like the one variable person can completely change the entire look and the entire lineup. So I feel like that's gonna kind of happen this year at the Arnold. It's really anybody's game. I'm gonna go, like I said, I'm gonna go into it a little bit more in detail when I do the live feed, but it's a very interesting Arnold because we don't have any like specific you're gonna win this, you know what I mean? Like I don't think we've ever had that before in this division, so it's exciting.
Yeah, and with the Arnold too, obviously it's much, much, much smaller than the Olympia for, someone like me, this is really good for me because I'm going to get a really good look, against these girls that have been at the night show and in the top 10. Like I'm going to get a really good look next to them, so for me, that's crucial data going into this year's Olympia. I've been very open on my podcast. Like my goal this year is to get to the night show top 10. Like that is my personal goal. So, this is for me, homework, data, get up there with those girls that are getting those placings and where am I lacking? And, obviously I'm bringing a brand new physique to this year's season and the Arnold, and it's going to be really cool to kind of see where that stacks up with these girls that are placing so well.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna get a really good look too because I got approved for media again this year.
I
So
know, so
I was like,
excited.
yay! Like
Yes.
they're so late in telling people like if you get approved or not. So I'm sitting here like I'm just twiddling my thumbs and like I'm looking at my emails from last year because I was like, this is about the time frame where I just emailed in and asked. So I did the same thing. I was like Monday morning. I was like, so am I approved or what? And they're like, we're working on getting those out, but yes, you're approved again. I was like, okay, cool,
Thank
good,
you.
I'm
Just want to
good.
make
I'm
sure.
like,
Yeah.
it's like,
That's really cool though. It's really, really cool.
yeah.
What is your
So
plan? Like, what are you going to be doing there? Are you going to be doing the commentary from the audience?
yes, so I'm going to do
Cool.
that. I'm going to go. I'm going to do interviews at the meet and greet and all that kind of stuff too. So last year and the years previously, I've done it on my Spotify, but I don't think I'm going to do that this year. I think I'm going to do it all on YouTube.
Cool.
Because the weird thing was too is I just got this notification yesterday that a few of my Spotify audio files have actually been taken down. And I don't know exactly why. They say it's because there's no, I don't know if they're hearing music in the background. I don't know, whatever it is. So, but I was like, my Spotify never really kind of caught enough traction versus YouTube. So I'm gonna do everything on YouTube this time and just do it that way. So um, the way that I do it at the actual show is I just record my face because clearly they have a live stream. You know what I mean? So I just record my face doing the commentary so you can watch along with the live stream. I find a lot of people do that. They'll actually, if it's I think the Arnold's a free live stream, but if they'll buy the live stream and then they'll just watch it along with me talking.
Yeah, I've heard
So
it's a
that's
free live
helpful.
stream.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Arnold usually is free. Usually it's free. And they do a fantastic job with their live stream. So you really don't want to watch mine in comparison. Like you want to watch theirs. So I'm just
Well, we
saying.
want to hear your commentary, but with their
Right.
quality of live stream.
That's right. Exactly. Yep. Well, that's what people say all the time. Like, why don't you do commentary for them? I'm like, listen, I'm like, if they ever want to contact me about doing it, 100%, I'm down. But till then, I'll just promote my own business and do it.
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean, it is what it is. So, um, hopefully by then my voice will be at 100% because it's better now. I'm still like a little bit nasally, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be fun. For me, the Arnold is always my favorite show. Always. I mentioned this on other podcasts and stuff. I just like the way it's ran. I like how everything is in one spot. I just feel like it's a little bit more, I guess, intimate would be the right word. It's just more like our bodybuilding people. You know what I mean? And that's what I really like about it. So, and I just feel like it's set up for the athlete, meaning it's put together so that you guys have a really good experience too.
It's very predictable. Like,
Yes.
because I just got an email from them yesterday, like literally line by line, what time to be there. They have escorts
Yes.
for us, what time that things are going to start. Like, it's so nice when it's not such a large show, because the predictability of when you're going to be on stage, when you're supposed to be somewhere,
Yep.
is it just obviously, helps with stress, knowing when to eat, knowing when you
Yes.
are going to be on stage, for the night show, things like that. So obviously, I can't comment yet. I've never been there even as a
Yeah.
spectator, but I will know soon enough. But
Which I
you are
can't
not the
believe
only
that.
one. I know,
Yeah.
it's crazy. It really is. And then when I was supposed to go in 2020, then Drew and I said, all right, we're not going until we have an
Yeah.
athlete in the show, or if I make it to the show. So it's really cool that that came into fruition. Drew was like literally sitting there last night. He's like, I cannot believe you're going to be on the Arnold stage in
Yeah.
16 days. So I was like, I know, it's crazy. So it's cool. It's really cool to kind of see everything come to fruition that way. But you're not the only one that has said that. A lot of people say that as like spectators, that they love that show. It's more intimate, like the
Yeah.
expo. It's different than the Olympia. It's not so overwhelming. And I hear all great things.
Yeah. Well, the expo is huge. You've never experienced an expo like the Arnold Expo, just so you know. Um, it's not gotten back to what it was prior to 2020, but it's pretty close. The year after 2020, it was not as big by a long shot, but last year it was pretty big. Last
That's
year it was pretty
awesome.
big. And there's thousands of people that flood Columbus during this time. So I mean, it's ridiculous. And like the weird thing about it is like the weather could be one extreme or the other. Like sometimes it's blizzard and snowing, and then sometimes it's beautiful and you don't even need a jacket. So you just
I
have to
don't
be
know what to
prepared for
pack.
everything. Yeah, you just have to be prepared for everything. You really do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
because if it's nice, like the last few years it's been nice, and I'll just walk to they have the powerhouse gym down the street, so I'll just walk to the gym. They have a great posing room there, all that kind of stuff. So it's a lot of fun, just the actual experience of training there at that gym and all that kind of stuff. But then some years, like I said, it's an actual blizzard, so you don't even want to leave, you know. So it's fun though. And like I said, you don't have to leave the area either. That's the beautiful thing. All the hotels are connected to the convention center, so you don't ever have to go outside if you don't want to. So yeah, it's just in general, like I said, it's just overall a really a fun experience. So
Can't
I
wait.
look forward to it every year. I look forward to it every year. More so, I mean, I'll be honest, more so than the Olympia. I really do. I think
Yeah.
it's better ran. Like all the things we've just said, you know. So so with that, this past weekend was rough for me. Like this whole head cold thing. Like, and the thing was, is like I went and I got tested for everything and I came back negative for everything. They're like, yeah, it's just a head cold. I'm like, okay, well, great, fantastic. So,
Make me feel
um,
better.
yeah, yeah. So I got when I got to, I was actually really upset because when I got to Arizona, I did want to come train at Hive. I planned that and everything, but I didn't sleep the night before because my throat hurt so bad. Um, and for whatever reason, my apartment here in Vegas, the gym is directly below me. So for whatever reason, there were people up training at 1 a.m. and slamming weights around. And I'm like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. Like I was just like, I couldn't sleep. On top of the fact that anytime I swallowed, my throat hurt, you know. I was this close to going to the emergency room that night, but I was like, no, I'm just gonna get up. I'm gonna go to, Minute Clinic when I get to Arizona. So I did that. First of all, I got an Uber driver that couldn't speak English. So it was my fault I put in the wrong address, but then I couldn't communicate with him to tell him where to go, like while he's driving. So we had to pull over and I had to pull out my Google Translate so I could tell him where I was trying to go so we could figure out where to take me. So I ended up even like I would not have made it to Hive regardless of what happened with that whole situation. So I got to CVS and then they had no appointments. And I'm like, okay, well, there's an urgent care right down the street in this same plaza, so I'm gonna go there. So I went to urgent care, and again, they tested me for everything, and nothing came back positive. They're just like, we're just gonna give you a shot for the pain. I'm like, great. They're like, so we're gonna have you lay here for like 15 minutes, make sure you don't have any adverse side effects to this court or the steroid shot or whatever it was they gave me. And I was like, okay, cool. No adverse effects left. Went through the rest of the day that night. I'm sitting there. I fell asleep at like 10:30 that night, and at like 2 I popped up and I was like so anxious, like I couldn't stop fidgeting, like my whole body, I couldn't stop fidgeting. I was like, this is not good. So I looked up the side effects to the shot. Sure enough, anxiety. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, all I wanted was to be able to sleep through the night. That's all I wanted because I know we had a big day the next day and all that. So I was like, whatever. I'm like, this is what it is. So I got up and I went and trained at 3 a.m. in the hotel gym. It's like, is what it is. I'm just gonna do something. So I
Can't
was like, maybe a
wait.
little burn off. Yeah, I was like, maybe a little burn off some of this nervous energy and I can fall back to sleep or something. So I did that and I got back to the room at around 5 and I did pass out for like an hour, which was good. And I think that, to be perfectly honest with you, I think that shot just carried me through the day because I really wasn't tired. So that was a good thing. But it was just like, it was hard for me to talk. It was hard for me to like, I'm like mouthing to people because I couldn't speak. So it was rough, but at the same time, it allowed me to kind of sit back and just kind of be observant and things like that too. So I didn't have to be like fully like for me, I was fully immersed. I didn't have to like be on, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Totally.
So so that was
Plus,
good.
there was plenty of us there. We were all there
Right.
to kind of pick up the load. And I think we
Right.
ended up having 130 athletes that showed up, and 50 that were signed up didn't show up. And quite honestly, thank God, because that
Yeah.
space, we're going to get a bigger space next year. We're already thinking ahead for next year of what we want this to look like and how we're, going to, change it. So
Yeah.
it was a really, really great turnout, but just like you said, a really long day.
Yeah.
We were on our feet all day long, talking
Yep.
all day long. I know, like, by the time Sunday night came around, when we were, because that's what the athletes don't know, is like we were there Friday night,
Right.
doing our mixer, and then Saturday
Right.
was about the athletes. And then after the athletes left on Saturday, we went right into our banquet for 2.5
Right.
hours. So, like, Drew and I got home at like 10 o'clock that night. Then we had to flip around, see you guys at 7:30 in the morning for our
Yep.
team photo. And then we were in class all day till 4 or 5 o'clock at night. So it's a long weekend. I mean, and
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, like heart is so freaking full and so much good education.
Hmm.
And I don't know, it was just such a great weekend. But when we got home on Sunday, it's just you're spent. You're
Yeah.
socially and mentally spent. You know, Sundays for me are like getting everything together and trying to prepare myself for the week. I didn't have that moment or that time. And then I went right into work on Monday, and it's been a super, super busy week. So it's all good. Like these are all good things, but it's definitely taxing and, and
Yeah.
exhausting.
Well, that brings me to my check-in yesterday where I dropped more than 3 pounds in the week.
Ooh,
And I was like, I like when I woke up yesterday, I was a pound and a half under my stage weight at
oh,
in
wow.
December. Like that's how taxing that weekend was. And I was looking at my macros. I missed the whole thing too. Jamie was like, you need to eat like a free meal. You need to have that 800 calorie flex. I could not eat because I had no appetite from being sick. So I was like, I was force feeding myself just my macros. Like I was force feeding. And that, I think was it Friday night? It was Friday night was the night. I can't remember which night it was. It was either Thursday or Friday night. I think it was Friday night. I didn't eat all of my food because I couldn't swallow. And it hurt to swallow. So I made up for it the following day and like ate my macros and all that kind of stuff. But like even just being under by like 300 calories or whatever the one night, I mean, I was supposed to go over and I ended up going under, and that's how
Right.
quickly my body just burned through everything. I'm doing zero cardio. I mean, we said this last week. I'm on 5,000 steps a day, and that's it. So it's like, for somebody like me, it's hard for me to put size on, and something that simple can throw the whole thing off. And I said to Jamie, I was like, I felt like this week was kind of a wash. I said, I don't feel like I backslid, but typically, like when I get sick, I feel like I hold inflammation. I didn't do that this time around, which was good. I didn't hold on to anything, but I also just like went and I just felt like
Flushed
really,
everything.
yeah, I just felt really flat and just kind of meh, you know?
Yeah.
So yesterday, my appetite started coming back a little bit. So I finally got all my food in, but even that, I was force feeding myself a little bit. I mean, I've been force feeding myself this whole week. So
But
the
turning the
only
corner.
no, yeah, 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 yeah. The only time I actually feel hungry is like after I'm done with training. Like after I'm done with training, I'm like, okay, I actually want to eat. But that's the only time I actually want to eat. I could probably go all day without food right now. So I'm just like, all right, like, but I need to. I need to eat, And this goes back to like we've talked about this before. This is why for me, switching to the fit model division is a better fit. It's just really hard for me to put size on. It's really hard for me to get all that food in. I don't like the feeling of force feeding. Like I don't like that at all. And I just don't feel comfortable with it. I know some people are like, "Oh, that's such a hard problem to have," but it is. I'm like I don't like feeling like I'm stuffed all the time. Like I don't like that.
It's a
I would
different kind
rather,
of uncomfortable. You know,
yeah,
being hungry is uncomfortable, and the
yeah,
opposite is uncomfortable too, force feeding.
yes. And I would rather almost be just a little bit hungry because at least I look forward to my food. Like right now, I don't look forward to eating. I'm like, when I
Right.
get off this podcast, I'm like, I got to eat more food because I only had half my breakfast this morning, and I'm like, I got to eat more, you
Yeah.
know.
You were up
So
early this morning too. You texted me 5:15 a.m. your time.
I know. Well, that's the other thing too. My body's all sorts of fucked up right now too. So
Oh,
it's like
same.
this.
Like I finally got 2 decent night sleeps the last 2 nights because I was waking
Yeah,
myself up all last week at 5:15 in the morning to try to get ahead on the day
yeah,
before the summit. And
yeah,
then Jamie's like, I need you to sleep. And I'm like, I'm
yeah.
just so busy. I need to
Well,
get up and
that was
work.
the thing. After I texted you this morning, I probably half hour after that, I laid down and I fell back to sleep. So it was like that's why I didn't. That's why when you texted me back, I didn't text you
You
back.
didn't
That's why
text
I
me.
was
Yeah.
asleep. I was
Yeah.
asleep.
And I
So
woke
it's like
up
my
10 till 7 my time. So 6:50 your time or
yeah, my body's
5:50
just
your
all
time.
over the place. I'm like,
Yeah.
it's just like I said, like I was up at 3 a.m. training on Saturday. You know what I mean? Like I don't do
Yeah.
that. Like I don't.
Right.
That's not me. So, and I had pole class last night until 9:30 at night. So I was up like, whatever. I'll figure it out. Eventually, I'll figure it out. And then I'm going back to Virginia tomorrow. So then I'm gonna be even more freaking fucked up at that
Fucked
point.
up.
So
Mm-hmm. Try to
it is
stay
what
on a
it
time
is.
zone. I would try
I
to stay on the
know.
Vegas time zone.
Well, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna try and stay relatively late with all of my stuff when I'm over on the East Coast. Um,
Which is normal for you anyway when you
right,
you
right,
usually are
right.
up to like midnight
Yes.
and yeah.
I'm usually a late night person anyway, so it shouldn't be too difficult.
Right.
Um, and Dan's more of a late night person too, so that's helpful as well. So that's gonna be, I if I can, once this head cold's completely gone, I should be able to regulate a little bit better. But it's just the last week or so, it's just kind of completely thrown me off. And but yeah, so I like for the first time, it was Tuesday night. I trained glutes 100% for the first time that week, and I felt so good. I was like, oh my god, I'm back to training like normal. So that felt really good. I'm hoping I can get some good training in today too. That's my plan for today. So we'll see.
You sound a
It's
lot
a
better.
Yeah, no, I and again, I never really felt bad other than my throat just freaking hurt so bad I couldn't talk. And it's just I've just got some congestion at this point, so I'm just I've got mucinex, I'm blowing my nose and all that kind of shit. You know what I mean? But it's just one of those times during the year now where we just kind of have to go through it. A lot of people just get sick, and it's just something that just kind of lingers. So, it is what it is. It is what it is at this point. But I just want my appetite back so that I can start eating and feel okay with eating again. That's the biggest thing. I'm like, I don't it gets to a point where it's like I feel like I look skinny, and I don't like that. So it's all the things. We can
All
never
the
be happy,
things.
right? We can never be happy, right? It's either we feel too fluffy or we feel too skinny or whatever it might be. So it's just whatever. But anyway, that's my that's my long and short of it. So at this point, like I'm actually feeling really good about like the presentation aspect of the whole fit model thing too. Um it's going to be I made this statement this weekend, and I told Jamie and I told Greg and everything too. Like I do want to be like the it girl for fit model, not so much like as an athlete, but as a coach. So while I'm going to compete in it and all that kind of stuff, I want to be the one that people come to for that division. Um, I'm really confident in it. I mean, the biggest reason why I feel really excited about this particular division, I've mentioned this before, is because this is bikini when I started, but we just have so much more knowledge now than we did back then. So it's not a just starve you and get on stage kind of situation. It's a create a healthy lifestyle habit for you and make you feel really good and make you look really good and all of the things that women want to feel like, and get you on stage just overall feeling like you've accomplished something really good for yourself. So I'm positioning myself now, just putting it right out there. I'm going to be your guru. Like it is what it is. If you need fit model, come to me. Like I'm setting it up. Like I'm putting together a course, everything. So and I like I've said before, like I plan to stay on the front line of it. We talked about this with Fit Body. It's like we're gonna go to these shows, we're gonna see what the judges are rewarding, we're gonna listen to feedback, we're gonna do all the things that we need to do in order to make you the best that we can be at this particular division. What's exciting about it is that we have the opportunity to mold it. It's not, we didn't even have that opportunity with wellness. You know, with wellness, it was already formed in Brazil.
Right.
So
We already had an example based off of what was happening live in Brazil.
yes. So we have the opportunity to build this division from the ground up. We have the opportunity to do it right. We have the opportunity to do it healthy and smart. And we have to have the opportunity to make some real headway and some real waves with this particular division, which is it's exciting. It's exciting. And the thing that people forget is yes, this is the entry level, and yes, probably 90% of the girls that do this won't ever progress past this. But there will be that 10% that are like, oh, I want to go to bikini. Oh, I want to go to wellness. Oh, I want to go to figure. Oh, I want to go to women's physique. Oh, I want to go to fitness, whatever it is. And they'll continue to progress in the bodybuilding frame too. So it's a feeder division for every division in the sport.
Yeah.
So,
Or not. Or they just
yeah,
get really, really
or they
proficient with
just
Fit
say,
Model. Yeah.
yeah. And that's the thing too. Like I try to tell people the reason why I got started with this in the first place is the looks back in the early 2000s were fit model looks. Those were the looks I wanted to look like. I wanted to look like Aaron Stern. I wanted to look like Nicole Wilkins. I wanted to look like Ava Cowan. They were all figure pros back then, but they would be fit model now.
Right.
As crazy as that sounds, they would be fit model now. And a lot of it had to do with muscle size and conditioning. So and it just posed differently. That's all. That's all it is. So yeah, it's that was one of the biggest things I think over the weekend that I really kind of settled in on. I'm like, this is going to be my thing. Like, this is what I'm going to do. Like, I already thought about it, but it was just like I made that that decision, you know? Um, and that can kind of bring us into what we were going to talk about with our topic today, meaning our 2025 words are for you. For me, it was peace. For you, it was surrender, right?
Correct.
So, one thing that we do with our team building is we talk about our 2024 year and we talk about our 2025 year, and we assign words to those years to kind of sum up what happened and what we want to happen. So my 2024 word was actually uh I'm gonna say it and I completely forgot it. Oh my god, it's reckoning. That's it. I was gonna say reconciliation. I knew that was wrong. I was like, that's not my word. Reckoning. I'm coughing. So my point in that was I had to come to terms with a lot of things last year, and I had to make decisions last year that I never thought I was going to have to make in order to progress forward. You know, life is about making difficult decisions, and I had to make a lot of those last year, and I don't foresee me not having to make those again this year. You know what I mean? But in doing so, that brought me to my 2025 word, which is peace. So I am everything that I'm doing now is to bring peace to myself and to those around me and everything going forward. I think sometimes we get caught up in like what we should be doing every day, what people expect us to do every day. Um, the this is what's acceptable to do kind of thing. And at the end of the day, all that shit is bullshit. And if it's robbing you of your peace, it's not worth it. You know, I've mentioned this, I've let go of a lot of different things, different people, different just stuff in general that was just there because that's like a societal, like you're supposed to do this kind of thing, but I really don't want to do this. So it's like I need to find me and what's going to make me happy, and I need to let go of those things and people that are not making me happy. So that's my goal for 2025. And again, going back to this is kind of where the concept of becoming this fit model go to guru has come from. That's what's going to bring me my peace coming forward into this year. So with you, what was your whole sentiment on that?
Yeah, so my 2020 forward was transformational, because I moved cross country from Florida to
Yeah.
Arizona. I earned my first pro card as a coach, and I earned actually two this past year. So that was super exciting. And then obviously just keep transforming as an athlete and, those accolades and things like that. And then my 2025 word was surrender.
Mhm.
And this was coming from a place of, I feel like for me, I love to control everything. That is, I think all of us are like that in the sport. We're very type A. And I learned that really early on with my childhood and kind of how I was brought up, that if I have control over things, then the less that I will hurt and suffer. And then almost, I've been told that many, many times over the years that, like, my control is very overwhelming, and my schedule and my routines. And it's also those things that make me very successful and very disciplined. And anywho, so what I was saying with that was, just kind of surrendering to any possibilities, any sort of goals, perhaps other people, like surrendering to Drew a little bit more. Like, when over the last few years, I know how hard he works to allow me the ability to compete, and to be able to travel. And if there is some sort of monetary or financial thing that I need, it's always yes. And
Mhm.
there's been conversations that we've had recently where he's extremely overwhelmed right now. He's got a lot going on with work, and we have a lot going on at our gym. And, when I'm in prep, I kind of take my hands off the wheel sometimes, and he needs help. So surrendering to what he needs as well, and not being so rigid in what I need, being a little bit more selfless, not selfish. And I'm really proud of him. I know a lot of, emotional things came up on Friday for him, and that he was able to, kind of share that with you guys too. So, just surrendering to anything, and, kind of stop being so rigid and trying to control everything. I'm not 12-year-old Jordan anymore. That's, I'm not that little girl anymore. But it's, we all go through that in our childhood, where we all have our traumas and things that have happened to us. And, as an adult, we have to learn, like, that's a part of us, but it's not us anymore. And then, obviously I'm not going to be competing someday. I don't want this kind of rigid lifestyle, controlling lifestyle, for myself. So surrender, just kind of go a little bit more. Somebody has said water. I think it was Greg,
Yes.
which is funny because
Yes.
he's shared with me that video when we were back at Road to the Olympia in Pittsburgh. He showed me that Bruce Lee video and talking about the fluidity and water and getting less cerebral and out of your head, and so being a little bit more fluid.
Yeah. And I'm the same boat. I mean, that's why the topic is like cohesive,
Yeah.
because my bringing peace to myself is about the same thing that you're talking about, right? I'm kind of this push pull person, right? So I am very rigid when it comes to my personal stuff, my business stuff, like my bodybuilding stuff. Like I'm very, like you said, scheduling. Like I'm very, very rigid about all my stuff. Like don't get in my way. This is the way I'm going to do it. But when it comes to like serving my clients, or serving the bodybuilding community or whatever it is, I'm too lax, meaning I give up a lot of myself in order to please other people.
Yeah.
So it's finding a balance between those two. And like you said, just being more, having that more fluidity, that water aspect of it, where it's okay. Like one of my clients, Jennifer, one of her favorite sayings is no is a complete sentence. So it's okay to say no to people. It's okay to say I can't do this. And though I've started doing that more, what has changed over the last few months is I no longer feel guilty about saying no anymore. I used to have a really hard time with, okay, I can say no, but I really don't want to. I really don't want to tell them no, because then I have to do this, and I have to do that, and I just feel bad, and blah 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 blah. And it's just this mental battle of, is even though I'm saying no, it's not bringing me peace, right? So I'm getting to that point. I'm still working on it. I'm getting to that point now where when I tell people no, I'm okay with telling people no, right? It's a hard thing to do. One of the things that I'm changing this year is I'm not doing as many shows, meaning like I'm not booking out hair and makeup, and I'm not doing all that stuff, because last year that took a lot of my peace. We talked about this a little bit at the weekend, this past weekend. Hate to say it, but competitors are fickle. We know this. And, I'd be going the weekend to the show and people would cancel on me the week of the show. And I'm like, for me, like that affects my bottom line. It affects my schedule. It affects everything when one person cancels, because I'm not this big team. It's just me, and that affects me. So I'm like, I had to make that decision this past year of, okay, I have to just tell people no. Like, I'm not doing these shows. I'm not doing the hair and makeup here. I'm not doing this there. I'm not doing that there. I have to say no. And I have to be okay with saying no as well for myself, and not get like caught up right here being like, oh, what are they going to think because I told them no. So it's this constant cycle of, I know what I need. I know what I want, but I don't want to disappoint people either.
Yeah.
So it's like you have to find that happy medium, have to find that peace. And it's really hard to do.
Yeah. I mean, there's been so many times where Drew's like, you give so much to your athletes. Like,
Yeah.
what about me? Like, what about your
Yeah.
husband? And I'm like,
100%.
yeah, you're 100% correct, and it doesn't come from a place of not loving him or loving them. You know what I mean? It's just
Yeah.
the day to day when it's in your face all the time,
All the
that's
time.
where your attention goes to. So it's hard, and I think too, as business owners, I relate to that so much. Like when you're growing a business, you say
Yeah.
yes to everything. You say
Everything.
yes to every opportunity, every type of client, even if they might not be your client, because you're just trying to learn even what is your client, or what
Right.
you like or what you don't like, or where you want your career to go. I mean, here you are, Shawn, once again making a little bit of a career change, right? You
Yep.
became a coach a year ago, and you're still kind of seeing what that look, you're always changing and evolving,
Mhm.
but at some point when you start to really understand yourself and what
That's right.
robs your peace, you have to say no to those things,
Yep.
and I was just on a consult call with a girl that I've known several years ago, and she wanted to coach with me. And I was like, I'll be honest with you, like, I don't love coaching my friends and family. It's a
Yeah.
completely different sort of interaction and expectation. And
Yes.
I don't know if that's really for me. Years ago, I would. And it was
Yeah.
always not a good situation, right? It's never fun getting on a call with your friend and saying, you're not following the plan. What the hell's going
Yep.
on? You know what I
That's
mean?
right.
So I learned that that's a boundary for me.
Yep.
But I totally relate to that. And, you know, I've always said, like, I do care what people think about me. I don't want to disappoint people. I
Right.
am a people pleaser to the point where I'll sacrifice myself in order for someone else to feel their happiness, you know. But I've also been in the situation where I've done that so much that I built up resentments to my clients and the people around me. This was really early on when, you know, I was in person at Push. And I had a client that straight up told me one day, like, this behavior that you're giving me is not appropriate. And I was like,
Yeah.
thank you. You're
Yeah.
absolutely right. And to this day, she's still good friends with me. She still reaches out all the time. And I tell her every time she reaches out, thank you for having that conversation with me years ago. Like, that was such an eye-opening moment for me. But we're human, you know.
Yeah.
But I loved when you said that word, because I know that that was your mantra that you and I were kind of talking about behind the scenes. And it is, it's important to protect your peace and to protect your mindset, because it really does affect everything, including the people around you.
Absolutely. You know, we say it all the time too, and I mean, I'm guilty of it. I tell my clients, I'm like, you can't pour from from an empty cup. You have to
Totally.
fill, you have to fill your own cup first. I mean, that's the
Yes.
bottom line. And as selfish as that sounds, you can't give to other people if you don't have anything to give, you know?
Yes.
So it's hard. And like one of the things that's a positive for me is, you know, Dan is so much older than me. So he's been there, done that. And, you know, I'll get on the phone and I'll be like bitching to him about a client or something or whatever, something that just happened during the day. He's like, you do realize that this is not worth your time, right? He's like, the amount of time and energy and stress that you put on yourself complaining about this, he's like, you should just let this person go. You know, like this is not worth your energy. Like you have to start realizing that, you know, and he's like the exact opposite of me where he just doesn't give a fuck. He's like, bye. And I'm like, I wish part of me is like, I wish I could be like that because I'm not at all. I'm like, I do care, you know what I mean? But like, like you said, we're human. And it's like, you know, I don't want to disappoint people. I want to make sure that I can do the best I possibly can. But also there's that concept of you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. And if they're not going to do what you ask them to do, there's not, I can't force you to eat your macros, you know, I can't
Yeah.
force you to go train. I can give you the best plan in the world, but if you don't do it, I, what can I do? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And like, I can't let that rob my peace because I know I did my job,
Yeah.
you know, and it's a hard thing. It's a hard thing to come to terms with too, especially when you got clients that have so much potential. We talked about this too, especially when you have clients that have so much potential, they just cannot get it together. And it's like, fuck, I just want to like smack them and say, just go freaking make your food. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
oh, it's,
it makes you feel like you want it more for them than they want it for
yes,
themselves. And you
yes,
know their potential and you know what they could do, but again, you can't force that on them.
yeah,
And it comes from a place of caring about them, right?
100%.
Like you see the potential, you know what they say their goals are. You know that you're confident enough in your coaching ability that you can take them there, but
Yep.
you can give them the plan, and if it's not getting done, it's frustrating, you know. And
Yes.
my dad said this to me many, many years ago when I was contemplating leaving a really long-term relationship. And I mean, this was the relationship I was in before Drew. And honestly, I was going to marry this man. You know,
Mhm.
we had a really good life together, but something just wasn't it. And I kept telling my dad that, and my dad loved him. And he was like, are you sure? 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 And I kept saying, I think I'm sure. And he's like, you can't say you think. You
You have
have to
to.
stay until you know with 100% certainty that it's not for you anymore. So
Yep.
keep putting time into it, go to therapy, and then when you walk away, you'll know you did everything possible and you won't have those what ifs in the back of your head. And I was like, so I think I stayed for like another couple of months. And then I knew when I walked away that it was done. And I never had
Yes.
a what if after that. And I really try to apply that. It comes up a
Yeah.
lot, especially with what we're talking about right now. Like, when do you tell a client, like, hey, I don't know if this is for me anymore? Or when do you tell a certain situation or a certain, program that you've been doing forever, like, hey, I don't think this is for me anymore. You
Yep.
have to know mentally that you've done everything possible to try to make that work or make that puzzle piece fit in your life. And
Yes.
sometimes a square just doesn't fit into a round hole. It just is what it is.
Absolutely. And I do believe too, I think that the universe works in like a boomerang effect. So what I mean is that when you put something out there, you're going to get something back. Um, so it's like if you put the energy out there into the universe of I feel like this is going to work for me, or I feel this is not going to work for me, eventually the universe is going to tell you the right answer. You know what I mean? Like I've found that my whole life. Great example is the bikini and fit model thing, right? Because I knew in the back of my head coming out of my last season, I'm like, in order for me to be competitive in bikini, I got to put on so much more size. And I just don't even know if I want to do that. You know what I mean? And I'm sitting there going in my head, I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that. Like, I'm 43 years old. I'm like, do I really want to keep pushing this? That kind of stuff. And then hello universe, here comes fit model, you know what I mean? Like that always happens, always. So it's more about just being kind of open to receiving that message too, and understanding like this is your sign, this is your sign
Surrender.
that this correct, surrender to it, and that's where you're going to find your peace. Look at how we're putting it all together. I love it. Anyway.
Well, I'm also thinking about Dan too. Like he
Yeah.
has like this wisdom with his
Yes.
age because he knows the things that he reeled about and stressed about, it
Yes.
always works out, right? It
Yes.
always works out. But
Sure.
we still get ourselves into those holes where we're, reeling over something or something makes us that upset. We put all this time and attention to it, and before you know it, it fixes itself.
Yes, that's right. Well, and I went through a lot of stressful stuff this past week too, with random business stuff and client stuff and all that kind of thing too. And he said to me, he's like, I've known you for how long? He's like almost 18 years. He's like, I can count on less than one hand the number of times you've gotten sick. He's like, I can maybe think of two other than this time. He goes, you're running yourself into the ground because you're not letting go of things.
Yeah.
Like you have to. He's like, you
You're
have to.
manifesting it.
That's right. He's like, you have to pick what's most important to you and just stick to it. And that's it. Like you have
Yeah.
to do that for your own health. And I was like, no, you're right. I mean, you're right. At the end of the day, you're right. And the same thing, like you were saying, like, because we get so caught up in building the business and growing and blah 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 that our personal life, what we do with Drew and Dan, gets set off to the back burner. And then that relationship gets suffers more than anything else.
Right.
So
Well,
it's like
but
you
then it
do.
also affects our business because they're
That's
also our
right.
business partners.
100%. a hundred
Right?
percent. And it's
And
like,
that's
so then
that
when you,
really blurry freaking line.
yeah. And then when you get
Yes.
on calls, you just start screaming at each other for no reason.
Yep.
And you're like, this is stupid. Why are we arguing about this? Like, this didn't need to happen like this. Like,
Yep.
I was talking to him about one thing 2 days ago. I just asked him if he had fulfilled an order. And he's like, no, it's still sitting there. I was like, that was supposed to go out weeks ago. And I was like, that was supposed, like, he was supposed to mail it out like weeks ago. And and so he just went off on this whole tangent. I was like, Dan, I was like, I was just verifying that you had shipped this package out and you didn't do it. I said, we didn't need to go down this whole bunny hole. I was like, if you were an employee, I said that employee would have just gone and done the job. Like, but because you're my husband, you go down this whole bunny hole. And I do the same thing too. This is just the specific example that just happened the other
Sure.
day. But it's like that's what happens in the relationship. And like you said before too, then you start building up resentments. You start, not wanting to be intimate, not wanting to do this, not wanting to do that. So you have to sit down and say, okay, we gotta nip this in the bud. And again, going back to, I gotta surrender to this so that we can have peace in our relationship too. And it's you have to start just deciding what's more important. Is it more important that that package gets shipped out, or is it more important that you are loving with your husband? You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
that we're good. And then, okay, we're
Yes.
good. Who's shipping out the package right
Right.
now?
That's right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's it right
Do you have
there.
5 minutes?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I'm like, so it's a hard thing. I'm like, people don't realize how difficult it is to have your entire like business, personal life, everything all wrapped up into one. It's really, really hard. It's really
Yep.
hard. It's hard to compartmentalize things. It's hard to say, okay, this is This is our time. This is business time. This is, whatever. Like we're going away for a couple of days for Valentine's Day this weekend. So it's
Oh,
like, okay,
good.
we can have our time, and it's like that's our time, and it's but because we don't get that much, what I mean? We're just so, and this because we're just always trying to
Go, go, go.
go always. And also, like, this was something too that bothers me about a lot of my clients, because they're not like me, right? And I expect everybody to be like me, and they're not, and I'm that person that if there's something that I want to learn about, I go learn about it. I go find the solution. I don't wait for somebody to tell me. I don't wait for somebody to hold my hand. I go do it. But most people in life are not like that, So for me, I don't. It's hard for me to relate to somebody who just is not a self starter, who is not a I'm just going to go do this, right? I have this one client, and she cracks me up because she just goes and she just does things, right? And I actually prefer this. I prefer that clients do this, right? She just goes and does it, and then she reports into me like she's addicted to plyometrics, and I don't want her doing them because they're freaking killing her joints and everything. So anyway, so she'll just go do it, and then she'll come back and tell me, and I'm like, I don't want you doing that. That's not in your programming. Stop, right? And she's like, okay, I won't do it anymore. You know what I mean? But I would rather have somebody just go do it and fuck it up than just sit back on their hands and say, I didn't know what to do, so I just didn't do anything. No, just go do it. Screw up. If you screw up, you screw up, then we can fix it. You know what I mean? I would rather have that, because that just shows me that you're actually motivated and you're self-starting and self-motivated. You're gonna go after it. I'd rather you do that, and we can always rein you back in. But if you just sit there on your hands and do nothing, I can't get you to get up off your hands. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
people aren't curious enough.
right. Right. Yeah. And again, she trains completely different than what we do at Fit Body before she started working with me. And I told her from the get-go, I said, this is going to be very, very weird for you. I said, it's going to be very, very odd because you're not used to this at all. I said, but trust me, I said, we're trying to reshape your frame. I said, we got to do this a little differently. And it's been a push-pull. But again, I appreciate the fact that she's just going and doing it.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, okay,
Trying.
yeah, we're gonna put you back in line, but at least you went and did something. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I would
Yeah.
rather have that.
Totally.
So, but anyway, but most people are not like that. Most people are not like that. Most people will just sit there and wait, and they won't go try to learn things for themselves. They won't try to make things better. It's okay if you fuck up. We all fuck up. But at least go try something,
Yeah. Yeah.
If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Or if I tell you it's wrong, I tell you it's wrong. It is what it is. But just try. Just
Yeah.
try.
Yep.
So that was a little bit of a tangent, but anyway.
I just have a moment to welcome our new channel partners, Prozis. If you're unfamiliar with them, go ahead and go down into my description box now, click on the link, go check out their site. They are the leading supplement sports nutrition company based out of Portugal, been around for 17 years. You might be asking what makes Prozis unique? Well, everything that they make is made in-house or with trusted partners. They have to go through rigorous testing in Portugal in order to even get any products on the market. So what you're gonna find really high quality, pure supplementation. And one of the biggest things for me is I have some GI issues. So being able to eat some of these more healthy protein treats and things like that and not have any gut issues, worth its weight in gold. Go check them out. Click on the link in my description box below. Use the code Cuties10 to get all of your discounts and even some special surprises. They're always putting out some amazing promotions. Let them know that I sent you and let me know what you think. Thanks again for watching and thank you for supporting our channel. Now, go optimize your own athletic abilities and check out Prozis.com.
No problem.
I go on these little. Sometimes my brain is just like ping ponging, and I'm like, whatever. It's the caffeine, right?
That or you're in your curious mindset.
That's right. That's right. Well, and I've always been like that. I don't know you are too, and I know Drew is like that too. Dan is as well. We're all very self motivated. We're always trying to educate ourselves. Like we talked about this before. I'm not a big reader, but I listen to podcasts and things like that all the time. I'm more of an audio person, but I'm always trying to get better. I'm always trying to educate myself, always trying to learn something a little bit more. Like we've talked about with FitBody, we're doing the a lot of the peptide stuff and things like that too. To me, that stuff is so interesting. I'm just every day I'm sitting there like Googling new peptide shit. And I'm just like this is really cool. Like I wish I could do this now. Like, let me try this one. You know what I mean? Like I want to learn those things. Like there's just there's just so much out there. We only, what is it? We only use like 20% of our brains or something like that. I'm like,
Yeah.
I want to tap into the rest of that, you know? Where's the rest of that consciousness back in there? I got to get in there, you know?
Yeah.
So,
And for how much we do know, there's still so much we don't know.
yeah.
You know, I was thinking about
Yeah.
that actually last night on the couch. I was thinking about one of my very first bikini athletes. And I was like, man, like I was a decent coach then, but like imagine the coaching that I would give her now. And then I was thinking, and then you're going to say the same thing about yourself in 2 years from now of where you're at today, you know? So it's cool. Like knowing that the evolution of education, right? I told you guys I'm taking this blood work course right now with Dom Kuza. It's once a week, every Tuesday night. And just, you know, the thicker we get into it, I'm like, God, there's so much that I need to know and I need to expand
Yes.
on. And I'm curious. And, you know, I want to keep you know, doing more courses and, you know, things like that, you know, and it's interesting to me that people just get very complacent in, you know,
Yep.
what they think they know, and then that's enough. And
Yep.
especially with the human body, like not even bodybuilding, like take that out of it. Like we're talking about, you know, nurses, doctors, nutritionists, I mean, anybody that is dealing with a human life. This is why it's so crazy to me that some people just decide one day that they're going to call themselves a coach. And I'm
Yeah.
sitting here saying that I still have so much to
That's right.
learn, but people with barely any education are taking a human life into their hands and they have no business doing that. You know what I mean? So it's scary in that way, you
It
know,
is.
but
It is.
it's there's so much to learn and there's so much out there, and no matter what you're doing or what hobby or whatever you do for work, like you should always be trying to continue to learn and educate yourself. There's so many new things that are coming out all the time. Research is a thing. I know
Yeah.
people, you know, outside of the bodybuilding space don't really talk about that much, but there's so much research going on all the time and
Yeah.
conflicting research ideas. And, you know, getting into the nitty gritty on that is cool. It's exciting, you know,
Yeah.
but I think that, yeah,
Well,
I think a lot of people are complacent.
yeah, we get so caught up in the day to day. You know, we've talked about
Yeah.
this before with like our, you know, our medical system here in the States. Like doctors become doctors and they never go back to school again. You know what I mean? It's just like, bro,
There was
you're
a,
literally playing with lives. Like you're playing with
right.
lives.
Yeah. I mean, my sister-in-law, she got accepted into medical school during COVID. So it was one of her first or second years. And they weren't able to go into school because of
Yeah.
COVID. And she was saying like more than half the kids were cheating on each other's
Oh
tests
yeah.
and things like that. These are going to be like she's in
Yeah.
her residency right now. She's going to be a full-blown doctor in two
Yep.
years from now. Like that's going to be our medical system. There was also a research study that came out yesterday that I saw that I think it was like in the area of 29% of Gen Zs are getting fired right now because they have no skills. They can't
Oh
talk on the
wow.
phone. They are showing up to work late or not showing up at all. When they do show up to work, they're completely unprofessional. They don't have a professional tonality or language or like their attire. And most of these kids were in school during COVID when they weren't able to get in for the, you know, couple of years. And then those kids, even when school went back into session, had the option to stay online and not
Yeah.
go back in school. So we're
Yep.
seeing this kind of generational gap from COVID of where people have no professional skills right now.
Yeah.
Like that's scary, you know? So then you take
Yes.
it down to that where I've already been experiencing this as a business owner. It is so hard to find a good trainer in our generation
Oh yeah.
because people want to be, you know, they come out of school and you know, you don't work your way up anymore. They're like, oh, well, I went to school, so I should already be making this amount of money with zero
Right.
experience. But then when I try to give someone more money too for their experience, they're like, oh no, I don't want more money. I don't want any more responsibilities. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what is this concept, you know?
Yeah.
So it is. I think it's more, I think it's kind of the climate of our culture and the things that have happened over the last few years, you know. So I always say, you know, try to grow 1% every day, you know, that
Yeah.
growth mindset. It's super important.
I think that a good microcosm of this too is, I don't know if you experienced this or not, but back when I was in school and went to college, I went to a private Christian college. We talked about this last podcast, and a lot of the people that I went to college with growing up were homeschooled, right? A lot of them were homeschooled by, you know, Christian parents and things like that, and they severely lacked in social skills.
Social. Yeah.
They severely lacked in just the basic life, you know, communication skills and things like that. So that was kind of the microcosm of what we're seeing today with this whole new generation of people who don't have to be social on a regular basis. They can sit behind a computer screen,
Right.
and there's two things that will never go out as far as need, and that is somebody who's able to be charismatic and social, and somebody who's able to sell, because computers, technology can't do that.
And to
There's just
me, selling is not even selling anymore. It's having a conversation with somebody
yes,
about what you're passionate about, which goes back to charisma,
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's something that it's a skill. I mean, it's a
Yes.
skill. There's some people that are just naturally born to be like extroverts and things like that. But even at that, you've got to go out and talk to people and be in that environment in order to hone in on how to relate to people, how to
Totally.
talk to people, how to meet them at their level, how to, just talking like this. Like when we first started this podcast, you and I, you're one of the only people that I brought on any of my little live feeds and stuff like that who could actually carry on a conversation, and I was like, oh, she's actually good at this. I was like, oh, we could do this. You know what I
Thank
mean?
you.
It's true though. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, you see it when we go to these seminars and things like that all the time. It's like, yeah, these athletes are fantastic, but a lot of them don't know how to talk.
Yeah.
A lot of them don't know how to communicate with people. And a lot of that is just, again, it's not even being able to speak correctly. It's more so just being able to observe and meet people where
Read a
they are.
room.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And meet people where they are, because some people have really outgoing energy, some others don't.
Yeah.
And you have to know how to mitigate that.
Yes.
You have to know
It
how to
makes
meet
someone
them
feel
where they are.
comfortable.
Correct. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Actually, with that, I wanted to mention this too, because we just firmed this up yesterday. We have a bunch of fit body coaches here in Vegas. So we are going to do a posing clinic the day after the Samson show in March. So it's March 29th, because I think the Samson show is or I'm sorry, March 29th is the Samson show, and then Sunday the 30th is when we're going to do the posing clinic at Torture Gym, and it's going to be free. So
Sweet.
yeah, we're gonna put out some flyers, or we're gonna promote it with the show and all that kind of fun stuff.
Are you
We
going to
just
cap it at all? Like, how are you doing
no,
RSVP? Okay.
we're gonna because we're gonna have every division covered.
Cool.
So because
So
Amy's
it's you.
here.
I'm gonna guess. It's gonna be you, Julie,
Yep.
and Amy,
hmm
Anya.
We mentioned her. Yes, she
Okay.
wasn't there at the weekends. We just didn't talk to her about it. But yes, we're gonna reach out. We're gonna reach out to her and put her in there
Okay.
too.
Yeah, that's gonna be a good seminar,
Who else? Who else?
guys.
We got more people. We got more
I know. I'm
people.
trying to think of who's in Vegas other than those ones. I mean, you obviously.
Yeah. Well, it's after the Samson show, so think about that for a second too. Who might be in the Samson show?
I don't know.
Thais.
Oh, duh.
Because
Okay.
because
Got
she's that's
I
on
was
her
thinking
radar as
who
far as
lives
competing.
there. Okay, got it.
Thais for wellness.
For wellness. Yep.
And then Christian too for the men's divisions. So
Cool.
Amy's
Sweet.
husband. Yep.
Yeah. So if you guys are in Vegas, write that down. That's going to be a really, really good one.
Yep. So I believe we set it up for, I think we said noon. I'll have to check that again, but we're gonna put flyers out and stuff like that.
I'm gonna look at my calendar. Maybe I can fly in. Sounds fun.
Yeah, come in for the weekend for sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, it's March 30th.
Yeah, it's that Sunday, whatever that Sunday is.
Nothing going on. It's blank.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Come out and say hi to you guys.
That's right. So I'm looking forward to that. Like I said, I was talking to Amy about that this past weekend. I was like, now that I'm out here more, I know I gotta shake some hands and kiss some babies and get to know people out here, and all the gym owners and promoters and all that kind of stuff too. So I can start helping with all of that. And so I'm excited about it. I wanna start getting more into the community out here.
When I used to do the posing seminars in Florida, it was amazing. I mean, we had upwards of like sometimes 50 to 60 girls out there. So it's such a cool way to connect, and athletes other than Fit Body Fusion are going to come too, So it's really, especially in a hub like Las Vegas. So I'm excited.
Our thought
That's
process
awesome.
too is they have the Samson show that Saturday, and I believe the Jay Cutler show is the following week, I think.
Okay.
So what we're saying is, like, if you compete in the show, get your feedback, come to the seminar on Sunday to work on your feedback, and then go into your next show, whether it's the Cutler or whether you're going to a national show or whatever. Sweet. It's a perfect opportunity to take what you just got feedback on on Saturday and put it into practice on Sunday.
Yeah, it's really
So,
cool. That's
and you
awesome.
got all of us there, you know,
And you're already
we're
there.
all, yeah, we're all there. We're all, you know, we're all competitors, but we're all coaches too. So we understand, you know, how to apply feedback, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So, so that's gonna be fun. And I think, you know, depending on how that goes, we're gonna probably put together some more throughout the year, and a couple of them with some other shows and stuff like that out here too. So that's fun. That was something that we just started talking about when we were at the coaches weekend this weekend. We're like, we should do something like this. And Amy's like, oh yeah, Torture Gym has been trying to get something put together forever. Let's do this. I was like, okay, cool. So, you know, when we got back, we just put together a group text and started getting it put together. So we actually confirmed the date yesterday. So we got
awesome.
it good to go. So
Networking, love it.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And then we're here to, it helps to give back, but it also shows the competitors here what we're capable of as coaches too.
Absolutely.
So, you know, it's a win-win for everybody. So yeah, so I'm excited about that. You know, and there's just such a huge bodybuilding community out here too. You know, it's just we want to tap into that and start getting in a little bit more community, a little bit more community surrounded with it, you know?
Yes.
So
yeah. And that was some
so
of the
anyway.
coaches' words too for their 2025 word was community.
Right.
A few of them said that.
That's right. That's right. So yeah, that was a little tangent, but I did want to mention that because we did actually put that together as of yesterday. So with that, we've got questions, right?
Yeah, we have like 10 minutes. Let's do some
Let's do it.
questions.
Let's do it.
We have a lot. So obviously we're not going to get into all of them today. So I'll
Mhm.
save these ones too going into next week. There's honestly some still coming through because I just posted the question box a couple hours ago. But I'll start with one that's literally directed at you.
Okay.
So it said, what does Shawn take to help her digestion?
Right now, really not a whole lot.
Maybe
one
this
of the-
was like in prep when you were having some of those issues.
Yeah. So, excuse me. One of the things that really helps my digestion in general is not being restrictive. When I was on meal plans, my digestion was terrible, horrible. Now that I'm on macros, it's not as bad. I just start figuring out how my body can process different foods a little bit better. I do take a digestive enzyme every day. It's through Prozis, my supplement sponsor. So I do take that. That does absolutely help because when I don't take it, I feel the difference. So those kinds of things do definitely work. Something that I practice is again routine. So the first thing that I do when I get up in the morning is I drink, you know, a bottle of water. I have all my supplementation, and I eat like 10 to 20 grams of prunes. Just gonna be honest, that gets everything moving. And that just helps. I guess it just helps me clean out in the morning, kind of deal. And then from there, I just know how to portion out my food well. I think this is something that a lot of people screw up. I don't eat huge meals. I eat small meals because I digest them better. And I also portion my fiber out consistently throughout the day too. One of the issues I see that a lot of my clients have is they don't maintain a steady amount of fiber every day. So too much and too little, not good, right? So I always pay attention to my fiber and try to stay right on that 25 grams per day. If I'm right there, I'm going to have no problem. If I go too high or if I go too low, I'm going to have a problem. So I always have. So one of the things that I found this past year that works really well with my digestion is I have Wassa crackers. They're like rice cakes, but they have more fiber in them. So I eat those every single day. And that just boosts my fiber content up to where I need it to be. If I'm down by a little bit on my fiber, I have a couple of those crackers. It gets my fiber to where I need it to be. So that also with your water intake too, staying steady with your water intake. So those things all together have really helped me, and it's just more so about being regular on everything. I had a lot of issue with, going to the bathroom and stuff like that when I was in California for that December show. And I think that was more stress induced than anything else, because the last 4 or 5 times that I've flown in the last couple of months, I have had zero issues, none. So I think it's, again, going back to finding my peace. I think stress has a lot to do with things like this. So the more that I've been able to unload some of that stress and been able to sleep, train, eat, do all the things that you're just normal should be doing, the better my digestion has gotten. I mean, bottom line, I don't. Something else I've been doing with my clients, I've been making them get rid of like the artificial sweeteners. So I don't do artificial sweeteners at all, and that makes a huge difference, I think, in my gut health. I'm at that point now where even like I'll have an energy drink, and that's the most that I'll do as far as the artificial sweeteners are concerned. And I like those, but in general, I feel like they taste like chemicals. So I don't. I think my body's like once you start taking it out, you realize your body doesn't want it. And I do think that our artificial sweeteners can really rip up your gut. So that's definitely been something that's changed. I used to even put like stevia and stuff like that on my bagels in the morning. I don't do that anymore. It's just not worth it. So everything that I eat is whole foods. Again, going back to why it's so hard for me to get all of my food in, because it's all whole foods. It's not all this crap trying to just throw as much crap into my system as I can. It's all whole foods. So it's hard to eat that much when you're eating nutrient dense foods.
Clean.
Yeah. So again, going back to quality of food is important. Quality of food quality is important just as much as quantity. So um yeah, I know what works for me and I know what doesn't. I don't do a lot of protein powders. The ones that I do use and the protein bars that I do use are again from Prozis. I have had zero gut issues with that stuff. Because again, going back to they're based out of Portugal, so they have to go through a lot more testing in order to get their products onto the market than we do here in the States. So a lot of the stuff that you get in the States is just a bunch of fillers and crap. So you have to be careful with the actual content of food that you're eating as well. I found as soon as I've cut out all the bullshit, like Quest bars and stuff like that, no more gut issues, you know? So
Yep.
that's the long and short of it right there.
That was good. I think that you answered her question.
There.
Okay. What do you guys do as prep and prime for your leg days? So I'll start.
Bone roll.
Yeah. So I think Shawn, yours is custom to you as well after
Mhm.
your assessment. Okay, so we're gonna caveat by saying that we've both have had an assessment. I've had
Yes.
mine with Javi and she's had hers with Drew. So these are custom to us. I would say though that anything we're about to say could be very easily done for everybody.
Yep.
So foam rolling. So I foam roll literally from the bottom of my feet to my neck. So I have a little bottom of my foot foam roller to my calves, to my hamstrings, to my glutes, to my low back, to my upper back, to my lats. I do that every single session, whether it's lower body or upper body, in season to keep up with the cardio demands. Then I'll go into some banded activation. So I'll go into like a banded bridge and then a banded clamshell, which is where you lay on your side with your knees bent and then the top knee opens and closes just to try to fire up the glutes and the upper outer glutes. Then I go into some cat cow work for my thoracic spine and posing. I also have issues with my upper body due to like the boob stuff. So that's to help like my upper back try to stretch out. And then I also do single leg work on an RX pad for stability work in my ankles. So I'll either just do like a single leg stance on an RX pad and try to hold it, or I'll try to add in some sort of movement pattern with it, depending on how I'm feeling that day. And then that's pretty much it. Usually takes me about 15, 20 minutes. And that's it. Then I get right into my first session. Usually my first couple of my first compound movement that I do in a lower body session, I do need to do a good amount of warm up and feeder sets before I go into my top set weight. But then usually after my first PO movement or my second PO movement, I don't have to really warm up anymore. I'm warm and I can go right into working sets.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same as far as the working sets and all that stuff too. But when it comes to prep and prime, foam rolling every single day, every day, whenever I can, with specific focus on my hamstrings, and my adductors, my IT band, getting into my glutes, all those kinds of things. I definitely like I do a lot of just like regular mobility work just in general too. But when we're talking about like lower body, that's where I start always, always. Dead bugs, banded, what are they called? Where you hook the band onto your hip and you open up your hip. I can't remember what they're called.
And you open up, the airplanes?
No, it's so you put the band around, you hook the band onto a bench, put it around your hip, and then you open the hip so that you're pulling open with your hip on the band. I can't remember what it's called. But anyway, it just helps to open my hips up. I can't remember what it's called. I don't even know if Drew actually put that in my programming. I just know that he showed me how to do it, and I always do it. So, That dynamic stretches or dynamic lunges. Okay, we're back. We've switched places.
We flip-flopped.
I don't. My Wi-Fi dropped, and then once it came back on, I couldn't get my camera to come back on. I'm like, the hell. So we did not lose the podcast, though. It's still there. So thank God we did not lose it. I know, right? So what I was saying before was the lower body mobility, prep and prime. So yes, so I do the banded walks, I do foam rolling, I do dead bugs, I do the dynamic lunges, I do the hip opening stretches. I feel like there's something I'm missing. The majority of the time that I'm doing this stuff is my foam rolling. It's foam rolling mostly. So that's like essential. The hip opening stuff has really helped as far as just like the banded work and stuff like that too. Especially those of you that are trying to hit this front pose for fit model. You got to get those hip opening stretches because that is all mobility there to get into that front pose. People don't realize how hard that is to hit and to look correct because everybody's knees want to bend inward. You got to get it out. So that's all hip opening stuff. But I do a lot of lower body prep work even before I do Pilates and stuff too. So I use a lot of that foam rolling and things like that even before I do Pilates. And before I do any kind of prep and prime, I get on the elliptical for 15 minutes and just do some steps and get warm. So that's the other part too. Yeah. So with that was a little bit of a deviation. But
I know it's my fault, guys. I have to be at an appointment.
Yeah.
Minutes, so we got.
Yeah, we'll
get back to all. Like,
we'll
there's
get back
15 of them in here, so I'm gonna keep them for next podcast.
Perfect. We should do one of these ones. Maybe next time we'll do just a full Q&A because you're gonna be.
I think that would be a good one. I think yeah. Because we could spend an hour on just answering questions.
Yeah. We get one question, we talk about it for 15 minutes. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
It's like, but so let's do that. Next week we'll do a full Q&A. So if you guys have any questions that you haven't sent in yet, you can put them into the comments here on the video as well, or just DM them to us as well. And we'll go through as many of them as we can. So other than that, with that little interruption, we are going to sign out for Behind the Bikini episode 77. That's what we're on, right? That's what we said? 77? Yeah. So from Behind the Bikini, we are out. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.